He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This One's Wife. The German documentary arrives. What did we learn? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. The new German documentary about Prince Harry and This One's Wife, titled Prince Harry, the Lost Prince, hit television screens a couple of hours ago. What do we learn from this? It has often been a source of frustration for many who watch the comings and goings of the gruesome twosome, those that comment upon them, those that investigate them, that there has been what appears to have been a single failure by mainstream media to expose what Prince Harry and This One's Wife get up to. A failure to ask the questions that so many millions of people have been asking, such as, are they separated? Do they actually still live together? Have they actually ever lived in Monty Shit Show? Was This One's Wife actually pregnant with the children, or did she use a surrogate? Is it correct that moon bumps were used to fake the pregnancies? Why is it that Archie and Lilibet are never seen? What went on with regard to Megxit? Is it as This One's Wife has claimed? What about the bullying accusations? Is there further evidence to support what has gone on there, both in the United Kingdom, Australia, and the United States? These and many other questions besides remain extant, remain unanswered. And many people have become increasingly frustrated by what they see as a failure by news outlets and newspapers to investigate. They often cry, surely they must know the answers, why aren't they printing them? Why haven't they looked at these factors? Many people are talking about them. Surely these questions must be occurring to them also. I have hitherto, of course, offered my own observations as to why this hasn't been reported on. A combination of the fact that many of the rumours about her simply aren't true, and therefore investigations have been undertaken, found that's the case, and therefore there's nothing actually to report on. After all, you're not going to report This One's Wife was not a yacht girl. Nobody's interested in reading about that. Furthermore, I suspect that with regard to many of the allegations, people have confirmed the truth of them, but they are unwilling to put their names to what has been stated. For reasons of protecting reputation and employment, they've confirmed that this is the case, but won't put their name to it, and therefore the individuals that know the truth of what has gone on can't publish it, because if they were sued, they wouldn't be able to prove it. And accordingly, a combination of those two things has meant that the media has chosen not to slaughter the cash cow and has continued to drip feed information and continue to benefit from people's interest in them. But then along came the German documentary. And given the fact that this was from outside of an English-speaking media, that it was anticipated that perhaps at long last here would come an outfit that would take the matter by the scruff of the neck, that would really get down and investigate and expose them. The feature hadn't been sanctioned by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and the documentary is only available on German screens. It's been directed by award-winning German filmmaker Ulrike Grunewald. The idea was that it was to explore the Sussexes' life in Monty Shit Show, where they've been based with their children since stepping back from royal duties in 2020. Apparently, in addition to Harry's rift with his family, the film was also to examine the seismic shifts within the monarchy, including the death of Queen Elizabeth II in 2022 and health issues faced by King Charles III and the Princess of Wales. Harbouring an interest in the British royals, Grunewald has also directed Die Winzers and Princess Diana's Dangerous Legacy in 2021. The worst accusations always come from their own circle, remarked Grunewald about the British monarchy as part of her investigation. Revelations that shocked the royal family came directly from Prince Harry and This One's Wife. Harry and This One's Wife last visited Germany in 2023 to host the Invictus Games in Düsseldorf, This is Harry's initiative to rehabilitate international wounded, injured and sick servicemen and women. Reports at the time suggested the couple's tour of Germany was a success, although back when the couple made their exit, German newspapers were critical of their stance. At the time, Die Welt newspaper reported, "The withdrawal of Harry and this one's wife is a slap in the face of the monarchy and its supporters." However, after the couple's successful tour of the country last year, it remained to be seen how the documentary would portray them and whether it would actually address some of the many burning questions that remain in respect of Prince Harry and this one's wife. As mentioned earlier, the programme's only available on German television. And I have had one of my valuable viewers based in Germany watch the TV documentary and provide me with the thrust of what is spoken about so that I can share that with you and for you to learn what was uncovered or whether it's been a nothing burger as was suspected by many of you. The broadcast included many of the usual royal commentators such as Jack Royston of Newsweek, India McTaggart, Russell Myers, Katie Nicholl, Angela Levin, as well as Di Davies. The documentary commenced by talking about their past life as working royals, which didn't reveal anything that we didn't really know already. When Harry and this one's wife went to find their freedom, as described in the documentary, the monarchy had to reject their half-in, half-out plans because they would have been viewed as corruption, is what the documentary describes it as. Jack Royston commented that Harry treated this one's wife like an expensive vase you don't want to smash. He was always afraid of losing her. Again, that doesn't tell us anything that we really didn't know already. It's an alternative way of suggesting just how under control Harry has been in relation to this one's wife. Melissa Murray, a New York law professor, claimed without proffering any evidence and without being contradicted that this one's wife was treated worse than the Princess of Wales by the press, and that is what is called unconscious bias in the United Kingdom is not unconscious at all to Americans. Accordingly, it would seem that she actually received a sympathetic commentary from that particular commentator. In the documentary, the bullying allegations against this one's wife were given a brief mention, but nothing new was provided. The documentary explained that their life in Monty Shit Show is a life of luxury, but their commercial ventures have not been successful. The documentary made mention of the ARO trademark rejection, Archwell shrinking donations, the fact that they were working 1 hour a week, and their commercial strategy was described as severely lacking. Accordingly, their commercial ventures came in for some criticism, but again, it didn't tell us anything that we didn't already know. The neighbours that the production team spoke to explained that you never see them, and they're not part of the community. Accordingly, this is something which had been claimed before and might lend credence to the suggestion, as some have offered, that they haven't actually lived in Monty Shit Show, or that if they do, it's simply a base where they only bother with the few famous friends that they've got, and they certainly don't interact with the community as a whole. Ben McBean, who served with Harry in Afghanistan, criticised Harry in the documentary for whinging about his family in Spare and for putting other soldiers at risk because of his revelations. Di Davis criticised Harry for making himself a target with his big mouth. He explained that their tours to Colombia and Nigeria are all about Harry and this one's wife, and very little to do with the actual rationale for going there. He pointed out the hypocrisy of them going to some of the most dangerous places on earth with just their private security, while claiming they needed taxpayer-funded protection in the United Kingdom. The documentary explained that William has ceased all contact. He's horrified about Harry's revealing of private matters and has much more important things to deal with than mess around with Harry. The documentary also showed excerpts from the Princess of Wales's video after the completion of her chemotherapy. Harry was described in the documentary as an outsider who is now only popular in faraway countries. The faux royal tours were criticised for this one's wife's appearances in expensive designer clothes in some of the poorest countries on the planet. Now it would appear the documentary explains that this one's wife wants to reconnect with her Hollywood world. No mention that she was actually never really part of Hollywood, while Harry goes back to his roots in focusing on his charity work like the Invictus Games, something which we of course have seen for ourselves. Apparently the Dusseldorf Games cost the German taxpayer more than 40 million euros in total, and it's seen as questionable whether other venues will actually be able to finance the Games, which may well suggest why Harry was shilling to NATO just recently. The Games were lauded as fundamentally a good thing, but Harry only brings one thing to the Games, a degree of popularity, which of course is now waning. Harry's future was described as uncertain. Rather than go through the entirety of the documentary, I've stripped out, courtesy of the assistance of my German correspondent, the fundamental points that were touched upon. There was nothing about their family life. There was nothing about Thomas Markle, nothing Senior, nothing about Doria. There was nothing with regard to the questions about the parentage or existence of Archie and Lilibet. There was nothing about how the marriage is doing, apart from a remark that Harry increasingly appears at events without his wife, which again is something we've seen for ourselves. Accordingly, whilst it was not wholly uncritical of this one's wife and Harry, it certainly has not addressed the key questions that people had hoped and would be regarded as a missed opportunity. As I mentioned in a video earlier, the anticipation was there as to whether it would expose them or whether it would be a nothing burger. And ultimately, one has to conclude from the information provided on viewing the documentary that it is actually a nothing burger. Whilst it's not hugely supportive of them and is critical at times, it simply talks about things that everybody already knew. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.